Hey listeners, just a warning before you listen to this episode. We actually recorded it back at the very beginning of August, and that was right after Ayanagi Show's dinner show had been announced, but before we found out that unfortunately she was going to be retiring, and also before they started modifying the dinner shows and just doing them as live broadcasts instead of as actual dinner shows. So you'll hear us talking a little bit about what we think might be happening and going on. And now, several months into the future, we've learned the truth. So enjoy. We hope you have a good time listening to our show about Ueda Keiko, and please add your thoughts and experiences to the comment section of the blog, because we would love to hear what you think of Ueda Keiko and her shows. Thanks. And welcome to the Takarazuka Revue fan podcast, where fans from around the world get together to talk about Takarazuka. And today it is Jen in New York and
Kitty, who is now a college graduate. I don't think I had graduated last time I was on an episode. Or, no, I just had. That's right. Time has no meaning.
You just had. It was like your happy thing.
Right. Time has no meaning. I'm sorry.
I know, it's still March, right? Feels like it.
Haikata is still going, so it's March.
Right. I saw a meme today, and it was like, March, hot March number 1, hot March number 2. It was pretty good.
Yeah, basically.
So, what is making you happy lately in the world of Takarazuka or otherwise? Any news that's...
Let's see. So, like, a lot of, well, my favorite person, Ayanagi Show, finally got a dinner show, which she is...
That's right!
Predictably calling Show. I expected it would be called Showtime, but I guess that one, no.
I wonder if that's been taken already. Maybe that's
why. It very well could have already been taken. But it's like Show-W, so I'm wondering if it's going to have like a Wings aesthetic, because she has like that in her like fan club logo and stuff. But yeah, because she had a column in Kageki once called Showtime, and so I was like expecting her to go for that if she had the opportunity. And it has my favorite 106. She's a 106. The Neido Yui as part of the cast, which is very exciting because she's just very tiny, but she's really talented. So it's nice to see her get some attention.
I was surprised. There were actually a lot of otokoyaku in the cast. Like,
yeah,
it seems like that's unusual for like, dinner shows.
Yeah, it's usually either like half and half or all musumeyaku. And I feel like one of the last couple dinner shows to happen were like all musumeyaku ones. Like Chinatsu's one was all musumeyaku. But
it seems like that the higher ranked the person having the dinner show is, the more otokoyaku they usually get.
Maybe.
Like if it's a
but I think
top star or nibante, they get more otokoyaku. But
Sho and Ayaoka are kind of friends, I think. Like I've seen them hang out in like offstage photos. So that's cool. Nice to see them doing stuff together.
Yeah, that's gonna be so much fun. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Dinner shows are so
cool. Like
although
it's a little bit scary to have it happen suddenly close to Daimon's Taidan, but I feel like it would have been, if it was planned always to happen at this point, it would have been announced much earlier. So I feel like maybe they have pulled forward something that was intended to happen after Diamonds Tied On originally, so that they can get some Yuki money.
Yeah. Although, I gotta admit, I'm a little scared because, like, the places where they usually have the dinner shows do not have, like, windows or ventilation.
No, it's
like
worrisome. I feel like maybe they feel like it's easier to police a dinner show because it's a bit less people and it's less days, but it's still, like, worrying. So I hope the
I bet the
hotel is better for it.
Yeah, and they'll probably have fewer people.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, because.
Yeah, for sure.
Maya's they extended it by several days so they could reduce the number of people in the room.
Okay. So that makes sense.
So they're at least trying.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to at some point, right? But that's so cool. My happy thing is actually very, very dorky, but I decided to finally get a VPN, and because I have a VPN now, that means I could sign up for Takarazuka On Demand.
Yo!
So, yeah, I just subscribed, and I'm just, like, I don't even watch that much TV anymore, but I'm like, I have to do it because me, like, 10 or 15 years ago would have died to basically have Sky Stage all the time, so, yeah. So, they actually have a lot of stuff if you sign up for the premium. It's a really good deal. So,
nice.
Maybe I'll put up, like, how to sign up for it for people who don't know how to get to it.
Yeah, I'll probably succumb once I'm finally actually in Japan.
Yeah. It'll be a little bit less convoluted. But, yeah, so I'm excited to poke around. Like, I just signed up, like, 10 minutes before we got on, so I haven't even had a chance to poke around yet. But, yeah, happy things. More Takarazuka. Can't go wrong. Cool. Today's episode is going to be a short one. We're just going to chat about Ueda Keiko, one of the Takarazuka playwrights / directors. And she is very famous for, first of all, being a very good playwright and director, but also she was the first female Takarazuka playwright / director, which some people could argue with because, like, Kasugano Yachio actually directed a bunch of shows, like, many, many moons ago, but she was never, like, a playwright.
Yeah, like, she's the first to come through the in-house hiring process.
Exactly, which, I don't know if we've talked about that at all, but Takarazuka basically hires, like, young directors, and they act as, like, assistant directors for a certain amount of time, and then they kind of graduate to do, like, a small theater shows, and, like, Shinjin Koen direction, and then finally they get their debuts on the grand stage.
Yeah, although it's not, like, guaranteed. Like, some people have left before that.
Yes.
There was one other...
Right.
Who was it? There was one other woman who I think she was the director of one of the Romeo and Juliet Shinkos. She left before she ever got her own show, but she still does very well. She does a lot of theater and works with a lot of OGs. So it doesn't seem like she was, like, fired or anything. It just seems she's doing different stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of, like, because they do some stuff outside of Takarazuka, but not for a while, so it might be a little, people might feel restricted, I guess, if it's like, only Takarazuka. Yeah. But, yeah, now that you say that, I remember there've been a couple that we put them on the list because they're assistant directors, and then they kind of disappeared. We're like, oh, what happened to that person? I guess they left.
Yeah, it's really hard, because I really like tracking the progress of the different directors, but it's hard because they don't give you official lists like they do with the gens, so you kind of have to guess what's going on from who's popping up in the credit.
Right. Although, it's interesting now because I don't think they're as strict about social media accounts for staff as they are for the actresses. Because you see some of the staff have, like, Twitter accounts and stuff, so...
Yeah, like, definitely a lot of the composers have social media.
Yeah. I've been following Nishino Jun's Twitter account. He's actually one of the I can't remember English anymore. conductors, and he's got a really nice account, so yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Ueda Keiko.
Sorry, I get distracted. Yeah, so she actually joined the theater. I think she took the test like 5 times before she actually got in. Like, she first saw Takarazuka when she was like 10 years old and decided, that's what I want to do. I want to like work for that company. And so she was like really, really determined, but she didn't pass the director's entrance.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a test or...
Oh, let me see if I remember. So they first, I think you send them like, there's a big application with like a resume. And then I think there's a, you send them a script pitch. Like, if you make it through the first round, they ask you to send in sections of a script, according to certain prompts. And then if you make it through that, then I think there's live interviews that I think involve like a panel interview and then a group project working with other entrants. Something like that. I don't know if that's the way it was in the 90s, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'm looking at her Wikipedia account here, and I think like the first time she tried to get in was like 1987.
Oh, wow.
And then I think she finally got in like 1993. So, yeah, she was determined. Good for her. We were talking before we started recording that she actually published a book in 2010 about her experiences as a Takarazuka director. And I started reading it a couple years ago when I bought it, and I haven't finished yet, but it's on my bucket list to read as soon as I can read and focus enough to read again. And I've heard it's really good from people who finished it. But I'm sure it would be really interesting to see, like,
I really want to read it too.
Honest she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you can find it when you're in Japan. Like,
I'm gonna buy all the books in Japan.
Yeah. Or Book Off. One of the used stores. Yeah. You can find a lot of stuff. So I know you said you wanted to talk about themes for her shows. Before we do that, I just want to mention, I noticed that she studied abroad a lot. And I know this is kind of, Takarazuka directors do tend to, like, visit Europe or countries where they're going to set shows. But I noticed, like, she studied abroad in college, and then she studied abroad again, I think, as like some sort of exchange program after she became a Takarazuka director. So she spent a lot of time in Europe, like London and Hamburg and places like that. So
maybe that explains the setting for Hannah's Florist.
Probably. Is that kind of where it was?
Hannah's Florist is set in London.
Oh, in London. Okay. Yeah, and I think she studied in New York too. So cool.
Has she done anything? I don't think she did anything in New York, did she?
No.
So I think if she did Cinderella Rock, that one's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about some of her shows. Or do you want to start with themes, or just start with some shows?
Well, I have not seen her first show, because it's based on The Little Prince, and that terrifies me. It especially terrifies me because I've seen her second show.
It's very, very loosely based on The Little Prince. Like, it's not really at all. It just says it is. Like, and I think this is one theme that I do want to talk about, because I noticed she's got this element of, like, ballet to a lot of her shows.
That,
even if it's not, like, ballet directly, like, the dance numbers are very, like, modern dance with a ballet, like, flavor to them. And Icarus kind of had that.
That
Romeo and Juliet 99 had that.
Yeah, definitely. And then Senor Don Juan and Dantechi no Namida both have that as, like, major themes of the show. And it extends, the dance sequences in Poem of Love and Revolution also are, like, heavily ballet influenced, I think.
Does she work with the same, I know some directors tend to work with certain, like, composers and certain choreographers, but I guess I've never really looked to see.
Yeah, I've never checked up on that either.
Yeah, I'll have to check and see. But I bet, we'll see the names and we'll be like, oh, that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, same for, like, her Anna Karenina had, like, some of my favorite. It's one of a very, very favorite Bauhaus shows for just the dance numbers. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited for that one because we're actually just about to watch that because me and some of my friends are watching all of the shows Shibata Yukihiro worked on, and I think he was supervisor on that one because he supervised like every Bauhaus that came out that year or something like that, like 5 of them, and they're some of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only shows of hers that I didn't love was Cinderella Rock was just so silly. It's like not the kind of show that I really get into. And Last Party I never got into either.
Which one?
Last Party.
Oh, yeah, I've not seen that one because I don't have any good feelings towards F. Scott Fitzgerald anyway, so
yeah,
I'm gonna get there eventually.
Yeah.
I do like Cinderella Rock though, just because of how ridiculous it is. Like, honestly, that is exactly what I want from a Bauhaus.
There was a time when I did like that kind of show, and I guess my tastes have just changed.
I just want the small children being very stupid.
So, yeah, why don't you talk about Cinderella Rock then? Because that was like the second show she ever did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
right?
It is the second show. Yeah, I got mixed up because it's in between the 2 Icarus runs. So I thought it was later. Yeah, I haven't watched that one in ages, but it was honestly, for some reason, one of the first Takarazuka shows I watched. And it's like, so endearingly ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
basically like...
You can kind of already see some of her themes coming out in it because she has, over, like, for decades, had this thing running about, like, artistic integrity and, like, being true to yourself. Yeah. And so that already, you can see it kind of coming out in that one, although I think the first time it really hits with that theme is Senor Donphan. But yeah, you can tell, or maybe Ludwig too, it comes out as well, but yeah, you can kind of tell she's got her own take on things. And I wonder if some of that dedication to artistic integrity is like part of her like determination as well. I don't know, it's just cool to see it develop.
Yeah, and I could see that theme continuing into Paradise Prince too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Cinderella Rock and Paradise Prince
they really
both are kind of modernish pieces and very...
Yeah, they really have the same kind of vibe, but because like Paradise Prince is still very silly, but you can tell it's like much more mature in its silliness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's 10 years later, so she grew too, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so and then we talked a little bit about the ballet themes, which you could see. So her first Grand Theater show was Ludwig II, right?
Yeah. Part of the Empress Sissy cinematic universe.
I was going to say, I know I watched it, but it's probably been 15 years since I've seen it. I don't remember much about it, except it's about the prince who, like, really loved to build all those castles, right?
Yeah, he was, I think he was Elizabeth's cousin.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I also have not watched it in a while, but I remember it being, like, it's sort of a little messy, because the scenario did not lend itself well to Takarazuka casting, because, so the lead Miss Miyako role is like, this fantasy vision.
She was like a shadow girl.
Yeah, because they couldn't really, not really a woman available quite to put there.
Yeah.
And then the Nibante role is a little weird also, but like the aesthetics though, the aesthetics hit. Like and when the script like went for the emotions, it really, really went. Like I remember like little Senanshun, who I don't think she was actually that young at the time, but she has like one scene and it's, you know, you're just sitting there crying.
Yeah, she played the brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like...
But yeah, that was a really powerful scene. That was like... And
yeah.
She's always good at making sad stuff. But it's like, please my heart, though.
I was thinking about that. I was like looking at all her shows and I was like, some of them were outright tragedies, and some of them just had sad things in them. Yeah.
Yeah, but she actually does do a lot of comedies, to be honest. I just tend to forget that they're the ones she wrote.
Yeah.
Because I guess, well, Hannah's Florist is not technically a comedy. I'm not really sure what Hannah's Florist is. I respect it, but it felt it felt pretty experimental, and like I was glad to see her experiment, but it was kind of weird.
It's interesting because she's kind of hit a lot of different like eras and a lot of different like countries. Like it seems like a lot of directors either are like, I do Nihon Mono, or I do like modern stuff, or I do like Jazz Age.
Like looking at it, she's super versatile.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Like she seems to like French Revolution, but like she's only done a couple shows in it. Actually, they're just in a row.
She hits a lot of like European time periods and things that other people haven't done, which is kind of interesting. You know, instead of just another French Revolution.
Yeah, like the Habsburg show that's about Maria Theresa.
Yes, and she did the treasure sword, right? Of
yeah,
Habsburg.
That one, yeah.
Because I remember when it got announced, I actually read the novel that it was based on, and I love the novel, and they actually stuck pretty close to it for the show. So
yeah, I feel like that's a really, it's a good show. Like it's a little awkward with the themes, but you can tell it's like genuinely trying. Unlike Once Upon a Time in America, which theoretically also had Jewish characters. Theoretically, like you can tell in Treasure Sword of Habsburg, she actually researched. And it's still a bit messy, but you can tell she was genuinely trying.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was based on a novel pretty closely. So, but I think it's interesting that she did that one with, like, the Jewish people in, like, 18th century Europe. Mm-hmm. And then, but, like, just before that, she did My Dear New Orleans, which was, like, the set in New Orleans in like the beginning of the 20th century, and it's more talking about like Creole culture and stuff like that. Like she did 2 shows in a row with kind of like the underdog kind of a I don't know, I think it's interesting. Like some people try to avoid that, or some people approach it and kind of make caricatures, but I felt like she, like you said, like it still can make you wince a little bit, but like and like, her heart was in the right place.
And like even when she covers the old Takarazuka staple, the French Revolution, she had 2 shows in a row that were not the usual Takarazuka take on it, because Jean-Louis Farjean is about a commoner who was technically a tradesman. And then that one also gets into her themes of artistic integrity as well. because he was the perfumer to the queen. And she actually credits a biography that she seems to have based the show on. Unfortunately, I only discovered this after quarantine started, and I have not been able to get my hands on this book anywhere. But I'm very interested to read it and see how closely she stuck, because she really, from what I was able to research, it seems to be very true to the topic. And then right after that, she did the poem of Love and Revolution, based on André Chenier, which is also a more commoner focused view of the revolution that seems to be fairly nuanced compared to some takes on it. And definitely
and that's based on an opera, right?
Yeah, it's based on an Italian opera, which is why the names are kind of weird, even though everyone is French.
You know, it's really interesting. Like, she seems to pick a theme and work on that for a couple of years, because she did that, and then, like, the next, or, like, 2 years later, she did Manon.
Yeah.
Right? Which was another one based on an opera.
Yeah, she seems...
I never thought of that.
Yeah, she does seem to know opera, because, Don Juan technically is also based on an opera, kind of, sort of. Mainly it just, like, broadly references.
That was a stretch. Yeah.
It in the plot. But yeah, it does seem to be something that's in her sphere of awareness. And then, Eugene Onegin has an opera, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Did you see Onegin? I have
not seen it. One day I will watch it because Sho is in it.
Well, I really want to see it because I loved her Anna Karenina so much. I was like, I'm very curious to see, 10 years later, what kind of Russian story she... Yeah.
And then what's really interesting to me is that she went like almost 5 years without a Grand Theater lead. And then she got Fairy Tale. So I'm hoping this means she'll be doing more Grand Theater stuff.
Which, by the way, for our listeners, we talked about Fairy Tale a lot when we did our Farewell to Mirio and Hana Yuki show. So, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering now if, because a lot of the shows that played then were... like in 2018, 2019, those were just restagings of her shows. And so I wonder if she was traveling again.
Yeah, I suspect Mirio must like her, because she did Mirio's first Flower Grand Theater, where she became Nivante, and then she did Hannah's Florist, and then she did Fairy Tale. So I kind of feel like Mirio must like her, because that's more than she's worked with anyone else except, like, Tom.
Yeah.
Because she's also done 3 Tom shows.
She's also done what? I'm sorry.
She did 3 shows for Tom so far, which is surprising.
Yeah. I feel like more than we realize, there's some directors that really pick, like, actresses they like, and choreographers they like, and composers they like, and kind of stick with it. I'm trying to remember now. She had a serial running in Kageki for a while, I think, when she was studying abroad. Was that Ueda Keiko, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't know. That must be...
Where she was like...
That must be from a section of time when I wasn't reading Kageki much. Because I don't have many older issues.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look through mine again.
Yeah, so, oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to talk about is that she's never done a review, and she's had one Grand Theater show that had a full finale, which was Senor Don Juan, because it ran after a Nihon Mono review, and I was watching it, and I was like, okay, this is like the best finale of 2003, though. It's really good. Especially if you compare it to the Seal of Roses finale, which honestly I don't like that much, because it kind of just, but like, really seems to know what she's doing in that sense, and that she's never managed to have any other, like, straight dance sequences in many other shows is, like, really sad. So I feel like even most of her side theater shows have had fairly minimal finales. Although Hannah's Florist did have some. But yeah, I just really want her to do something else that gets, like, a grand theater finale.
Yeah, she did Tawny's Dinner Show, I think.
Oh, nice.
Like in 2009. Okay.
I don't know
if I ever saw that one.
Oh, that's cute, because she did Cinderella Rock. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I will admit, like, Rika is my favorite Takarazuka actress, but I have not watched Señor Don Juan that much, because although it cracked me up to see, was it Yuhi who was, like, playing a female role there?
I don't think so. I think that's a different show.
One of the Otokoyaku was playing a woman in that show. Who was it?
Was it Yoshiki?
I can't even remember now. But anyway, for some reason I just never clicked with that show.
Yeah, so I don't know. I watched it for the first time a while back after watching Seal of Roses and remembering that actually Rika is really cool, actually, and I should watch more of her stuff. And, like, I have an intense affection for ridiculous early aughts fashion, and that the entire show is costumed like that and treated utterly seriously was...
Wow! They actually hired, like, a really expensive, I can't remember if it was Japanese or Parisian, like, couture.
That's amazing.
Group to make the costumes. It was like in all the news stories.
Yeah. I love the costumes so much because, like, there's that, like, one really plot important dress, and they, like, bring it out on stage and put a spotlight on it, and I'm, like, laughing because it looks like just what someone would wear to middle school prom.
Yeah, but that's what it was. Like, that they, like, yeah, they spent a ton of money on the costumes, and they had them, like, flown in from Paris or something else,
amazing.
or Italy maybe, something like that. I don't remember.
You can tell they're good costumes. Like, they're really well made. They're nice stuff. They're just intensely early odds. It's beautiful.
Here it is, Hiroko Koshino. So it must have been a Japanese designer then. Designed them all. That's crazy. Oh, Takarazuka. I know, that's why the modern shows are always so funny. The costumes are always just a little bit off.
Yeah, like Cinderella Rock. Yeah, Cinderella Rock and Paradise Prince are both that, like, Disney Channel look. Because Disney Channel also does the same thing where they want the kids to look stylish, but they also can't have, like, any hint of immodesty, or they'll get 10,000 moms mailing them angry letters. So there's, like, 17 layers on everyone. It's so funny, in Hannah's Florist, there's, like, one kid who's supposed to be playing this, like, sporty kind of guy. So she's wearing, like, basketball shorts over leggings, and then she has a flannel tied around her waist.
Of course. Oh.
Yes, that's what everyone wears in London in 2017.
I was gonna say, that was like 20 years ago when I was in high school, maybe, but... Oh, gosh. So, I know you talked a little bit about how her themes have matured.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of an example of, like, how her things have matured?
Yeah, cool, because you can kind of see... In Don Fon, she brings in a lot of things that are, like, the lead has this tragic backstory he doesn't necessarily want people finding out about, and he has this sort of weird connection with a ballet dancer that turns tragic, and then stuff about him losing his artistic integrity, but it kind of hits you all at once, so it's a little bit jumbled in terms of the character development. And then she brings in very similar themes surrounding characters in Datenshi no Namida, but there is like, you can see it in Mizu's character and you can see it in Kimu's character, and she takes more time in developing the themes of like jealousy and artistic integrity and the tragic past. So she kind of takes more time on it and spreads them around between more people. Because there, she had enough characters, she could have done it in Senor Don Fon, but kind of put it all on 3 people, and
right.
This left poor Ayaki now with like pretty underdeveloped character, but she was still cute. But like in Datenshi no Namida, you can tell she really had figured out a lot of character development, because there's like almost every character is developed enough to have some kind of painful arc through the course of the show, and it's like, did you have to do this to us, ma'am?
Yeah, so it's not like it's not like just filler kind of chorus characters. It's like every chorus character has more of a emotional backstory. Yeah. And like,
I could see that. Even when she went back to comedies, like Paradise Prince still runs some of the same themes, and well, it has a lot of characters. Most of them get at least some development, and it's kind of just a chill squad.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I like Classical Italiano, which honestly, in my opinion, is one of her best shows. Although some of that is...
Really?
Because I really, really, really love Yuhi. But, yeah, Classical Italiano is, like, so good. And you can tell she, like, had definitely really read up on what she was writing about. And, like, because it's about... When is it set? I think it's set in the 60s. So it's about Italian tailoring and the conflict between whether to transition from fully hand-sewn to machine sewing. So that's like a major arc of the show, and you would be like, well, that's kind of boring, right? But it's amazing.
You know what? I've had this show, this is really embarrassing, I've had this show for like 10 years and I've never watched it. I guess I know what I'm going to watch this weekend.
It's really good. It's one of my favorites.
I was putting aside some Yuhi for like a rainy day that I've never seen before, so maybe it's time.
Yeah, Classical Italiano
she loves
is also one of Ozora Yuhi's happiest shows. Like,
yay!
Which
yeah, she got a lot of tragedy.
It's still a Yuhi show, but it's up there. It's like third, maybe second. I haven't seen For Whom the Bell Tolls. But yeah, it's up there in terms of Yuhi shows that at least will not leave you lacking the will to live.
That's funny. She does seem to like those artistic themed characters. You're right, like fashion designers and perfumists and like florists, I guess, and people who build castles, and so I never really thought of that before.
It leaves me really interested, because I'm always, whenever she does a new project, I'm always really interested in it. It's always exciting. But yeah, I'd be really happy if, now that Ueda Keiko and Koyagi Naoko have broken some ground, I'd really like to see her get like a 2-act show in Grand Theater. Honestly, I feel like she would be really well suited to handling some foreign musicals if they were buying some.
I think one of her first things she didn't she assistant direct like Elizabeth back in like 1996, 97, I think?
Yeah, her assistant directing credits are a little thin, but she's done Shinjin Koen direction on Elizabeth.
That's what I was thinking of.
Twice.
Yeah. Well, like you, I'm looking forward to seeing what she does in the future. Because, boy, she's been with the company now for 25 years, so I'm sure as time goes on, she's got more and more choice to the projects she wants to do.
Yeah, she must be developing some clout. There aren't... How many directors are there who are very senior to her, who still work a lot? I guess Ishida Masaya still works very regularly.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even Koike sensei has kind of stepped back lately. Yeah, and it makes me wonder the fact that she hasn't done anything for a while. If she was studying abroad, or maybe she was working on translating a novel or something like that she wants to do. So, well, any last thoughts about Ueda Keiko?
Just, yeah, she's one of the superior Uedas, and I'm glad we have so many talented female directors coming in since then. Because I feel like as it's very difficult to research because they're not public with who they hire, but it feels like they've, at least in recent years, been almost even with the hiring. It's very impressive that they've managed to, because that's very good even compared to other Japanese theaters or Western theaters.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely, and it's interesting because it makes me wonder, this is what I'd like to go back and study, how much the tone of the shows has changed with, like, I mean, it's a generational thing too, but I'm wondering if actually having female directors making shows for women with a female audience, if there's really been a big shift, or if it's kind of stayed the same.
Because I do feel like definitely some of the male directors do not understand what women want. Like, if you watch the original Golden Wings, and then you watch the Koyanagi Naoko improved Golden Wings, you can tell that one of these people knows what women like.
Yeah.
Because, like,
although there were some good things in Golden Wings.
There's some good stuff in the original Golden Wings, but it's stuck in the middle of, like, 40 minutes of nothing but political talking from, like, old men, and I'm like, please, bring back Asamine, please. But yeah, and, like, some of the other, like, I haven't seen it yet because I'm terrified of it, Tatsunomiya and PR Print definitely have this vibe of, like, these are women who know what women like, and they're gonna do that, just in very different ways.
Yeah. Alright. Listeners, ladies and gentlemen, let us know, like, any thoughts on Ueda Keiko, or on any of her shows that you've seen, or thoughts on female directors. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed our enthusiastic ramblings, and, like, really, if you just want to watch good Takarazuka, you really can't go wrong just going down the list of stuff Ueda Keiko has written. Like, yeah, I haven't watched one of her shows that I've ever genuinely disliked, and they're all... She has amazing aesthetic sense, and you can, especially when she has a big budget.
And I feel like for her, I guess I don't really notice the staging as much. I'll have to go back and rewatch stuff and see how her staging is, because I noticed how she incorporates the choreography. We've talked a lot about her character building and her story building, but I'd be interested to go back now and, like, take a look at her blocking and see how that fits into her aesthetics. So,
yeah, like, the best stage work I think I've seen from her is Andre Chenier. It's so amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to check it out. All right. Well, thank you, Kitty. I know you were having a kind of this wasn't your favorite time of recording, but appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I had a fun time. Always down to ramble about directors.
Yeah, and if our listeners have any suggestions on the next director we should talk about, please let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, thank you all for listening.
Yep. Bye!
Bye!
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.